What's up, guys? Welcome to Among the Fence, my YouTube channel where I do music reviews. My name is Aaron, and today we're going to be talking about the new album Shrine by the band Bleed From Within. For those of you who don't know who this band is, they are a Scottish metalcore band started around 2005, and Shrine is their sixth studio album. And while Bleed From Within started out as more as a deathcore band, they evolved into more of like a blend of metalcore, groove metal, with still a little bit of touches of death metal here and there. Their last studio album, Fracture, is one of my favorite metalcore albums right now. I still listen to it all the time, and it is one of my top albums of 2020. So I was very, very excited to hear when the band was working on a new album. And even though I gotta admit the singles weren't really hitting as hard or carrying the same amount of intensity as almost any of the stuff that's off of Fracture, I still had very high hopes for this album going into it. The album opens up with the song Damnation, which has a pounding intro and whispered vocals with kind of like a Middle Eastern sounding kind of guitar motif, maybe something from the Phrygian scale. The verses are mostly all drums and vocals with some quiet guitar work going on in the background. The chorus is big with what sounds like the entire band singing along, and the post-chorus riff is just sick. And the breakdown adds a little bit more dissonance to it. Really like how they switch things up with even just little things here and there. It adds a lot of depth to the song. Then we have the song Sovereign with lots and lots of energy and a heavy riff with lots of stuff going on. It's a very dynamic riff. It sounds fantastic, and the verses keep that energy going. The chorus has some heavy-handed drum work and some snarling vocals. It's got a nice build-up going into a shreddy guitar solo that sits beautifully in the mix. I love the way they didn't just put it all out in front and like, here, look at what we can do, and they just start going off on a guitar. But no, it kind of sits back a little bit. It's very open. Even though there's a lot of stuff going on, it still feels like there's a lot of space, and it makes you want to thrash around. Invisible Enemy is one of my favorite songs off this album. It starts out with a heavy, chuggy riff that drops out in the verses. It's mostly just vocals till about halfway through. Again, I'm not really that big of a fan of the chorus. I don't like the chanty kind of stuff that Bleed From Within does, but it is what they do, and it doesn't sound bad. I don't hate it. The lead guitar melody playing in the background in the chorus sounds badass, and the breakdown is just, it's mostly the main riff, but the main riff is heavy enough, and it still stands out quite a bit to where you don't even really notice it or care. It's not like you're not wanting something different than what they're giving you. It just works so well. Then we have the song Levitate, which starts out very slow with strings that feels kind of suspenseful, and for a good reason, because the song erupts into one of the nastiest riffs on this entire album, I think. And it's still not really that big of a fan of the chorus, but it does offer a nice contrast from the aggression that's in the verses. It kind of gives you a break. It's a little bit more lighthearted, I guess you can say, if you want to call it that. And the strings come back in for the guitar solo, and the breakdown is heavy with a lot of squeals in it, and the song ends up leaving just as it started. The song Sky is like an interlude kind of thing that divides the first half and the second half of the album, and it goes straight into the next song, Stand Down, which reminds me a lot of something off of Fracture. The riffs and the drums are just non-stop, and they really bring the heat in this song. And the chorus has some awesome vocal cadences that flows really well with the rhythm. The bridge is very atmospheric, and it brings emotion before a very heavy outro. This is another one of my favorites off the album. Then we have the song Flesh and Stone, which has kind of more of like a death metal kind of vibe in the intro. And the riff and the verse kind of sounds genty, at least at the beginning. Like, I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a chuggy, genty kind of song, but then it gets right back into the metalcore. And the pre-chorus is fantastic. The groove in it is brilliant, and the chorus brings back the atmosphere from the intro, which sounds absolutely amazing. And the haunting guitar before the breakdown and bridge is great, and I love the way it just sticks around. And they bring in the strings again, and it just sounds just so deep and heavy and epic without really trying to be. It doesn't sound like a song that's trying to be epic, it just is. Another one of my favorite songs on this album is Killing Time, and the drums really, really shine through in the verse. I mean, the drums are fantastic throughout this entire album, but this is when they really hit me, especially on my first listen. I was just completely blown away. And the chorus has the distorted vocals and the anger mixed in with the cleans that I've been waiting for. And I love the vibrato and the main riff, along with the shrieks and the breakdown, at least the first breakdown. By the time you get to the second breakdown, it just hits so hard thanks to the lyrics and the growls from the vocals. And then when you think the song is over, you get like this little instrumental thing in the outro that's just so freaking sick. That's one, I really appreciate how great these musicians are without really trying to shove it down your throat. Like, they don't have super flashy guitar solos. Not every riff is insanely complicated and just over the top. Sometimes it's really simple, but then when they really, really want to just show off, they do, and it's done in more of a classy kind of way. And then we have the song Shapeshifter, which has a very quick riff and vocal delivery in the verses. The chorus was just kind of okay for me, but the music really made it for me. The bridge gets you pumped up. It gets you ready for the breakdown. That's basically a stampede of blast beats. I love the triplets that just kind of show up at random times, specifically in the intro. They just hit so hard. Death Defined brings the death metal vibes back to the table. The verse is very stompy with a choppy riff, and the chorus is more of a, I don't know, like a chorusy sound to it, mostly in the vocals, but the melody sounds really good playing throughout it, so I don't mind nearly as much. It's not really, it's just kind of something you would expect from metalcore. It doesn't stand out all that much, and the breakdown has just this guitar tone that I cannot get enough of, and the vocals make it hit so much harder. Then we have the song Temple of Lunacy. It starts out with a groovy riff in the verse, and the vocals and lyrics are very fierce, and the pre-chorus has this huge just riff with like this ascending guitar part. It sounds so freaking sick. And the chorus is just perfect. I know I've been saying a lot that I don't like the clean chorus, chanty kind of thing going on, but just the atmosphere that goes along with it is very mainstream sounding, but the lyrics just get the chef's kiss, as does the atmosphere along with it. And the bridge has this kind of unique rhythm pattern thing, and the lead guitar riff from the guitar, it's just everything in the song. The guitar tones, all of it is just, it's another favorite. I got a lot of favorites on this album, and this is another one. Then we have the closing track, Paradise, which has a suspenseful piano in the intro that gets joined in by drums and guitar. There's nasty, nasty vocals in the verse that builds up as the intensity goes along. The chorus has a beautiful orchestration to it that gives it some extra textures and depth to the song. The breakdown has some sick lead stuff that kind of has like this robotic tone and kind of a robotic quality to it as well. It's the perfect closing track on an album that's full of pain and frustration and just all around desperation. It definitely feels complete. And while this is one of their longer, I guess it's not really their longer album, but it's definitely longer than Fracture, at, I believe, like 47 minutes and 12 songs, it definitely doesn't feel bloated. And by the time Paradise comes around, it feels right. It's a perfect time to close it. I absolutely loved this album. The riffs are nonstop, and even when the guitars aren't the focal point of the sound, they're still doing stuff in the background, and they're not being lazy. They're not just palm mute chugging. They're actually doing like some kind of riff, something a little creative, and the drum work is exceptionally good. The vocals are just as fierce as ever, and they change a lot throughout this album. There's different vocal techniques used, from cleans to a little bit more snarly stuff to just straight up in your face. It's just, it's a great evolution in just everything that this band can do and what they've been doing. They even threw in just some random things like violins. There's some orchestration, there's piano, just to break up the monotony of all the distorted instruments. And they even changed the tone on the guitars. That's something I feel like a lot of bands in metalcore feel like they can't do. So many times when I'm listening to like a metalcore or even a deathcore album, the guitars sound exactly the same all the way through. I mean, you know, you could change your treble and bass and mids, you can bring down the distortion, you could do so many things and still have a killer tone coming from your amp. You don't have to just stick with this one thing. I feel like that bands just don't realize that. The one thing I wasn't a fan of was the clean, chanty singing stuff in the chorus. It feels kind of sing-along in essence, but that's, again, kind of what Bleed From Within does. But I still just wanted something a little bit different on more than just two songs from them. There's two or three songs where the chorus hits a little bit different just because they threw some distorted vocals in there. It just becomes a little predictable when they do those choruses like that all the time. It's still an all-around solid album. I'm afraid for me it doesn't really knock Fracture off of its pedestal that it's been on for about the past 2 years. So with all that said, I gotta give Shrine by Bleed From Within a 8.8 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think, because a lot of people are saying that this is their album of the year, and I just want to know if that's what people are still saying now that the album is already out, because people were saying that about the single. So leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Shrine, what you would rate it, and let me know what your favorite song is. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, and while you're down there, let me know what your favorite song and all that is. Also, let me know what I should review next. If you want to help support me and my channel, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell icon. I was checking my analytics, and it showed that like 90-something% of the people that watch my videos are unsubscribed. So if just 90% of you guys hate my videos, that's cool. But if you guys enjoy it, please consider subscribing. That way you don't miss out on any of my future stuff. It helps me out so much, and I just appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to watch my videos. And I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you have me watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.
I was trying